Welcome to Hair Heroes. Thank you so much for joining us today. Super excited. I have a very, very special guest who's absolutely deserving to be a hair hero. So I asked fabulous Alexander to tell me a bit about his backstory. And I said, give me a little bio. And this is so cute because I love how he began his story. And he said, I was a naughty lad and did not have much interest in school at the age of 14. My mum got me a job with Mark Hill as a Saturday boy. I absolutely loved hairdressing from the word go. And after school, each evening, I would cycle to the salon and practice on my blockhead. At the age of 15, I entered the National Hair Federation Black Ball hairdressing competition. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Guess what? He won. And he got the taste for winning. And from there, he went on and kept winning and winning competitions. And therefore, he got that bug. And I've heard that so many times with the iconic, famous hairdressers. They started to compete and their world totally changed. So from winning so many competitions at such a young age, he found it not only very humbling, but he also had an incredible amount of confidence. But as he says, he felt his confidence sometimes was challenged by his limited skill set, but clearly this guy was a winner. He then went on to get nominated for the British Men's Hairdresser of the Year. And he was nominated so many, many times for the British Hairdressing Awards. And he said that he did not win the award, but it was very humbling because he was only 20 years old, and I believe the youngest ever to have such an achievement. At the age of 21, started his own salon, owned it for 19 years, and we're going to dive into this amazing man's mind to find out what makes him tick and hear his story. So you're going to be inspired, motivated by this extraordinary gentleman. So I'd like to welcome Alexander Turnbull.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm absolutely delighted. It's great. It's lovely to be sharing the screen with a fellow British hairdresser.
Yeah, well, you know what? First of all, I just love your humility and your talent, because I think that there's nothing more intoxicating than meeting somebody who's got an exceptional amount of talent and they're so down to earth. And they've been through the school of hard knocks, they've taken those lessons, and they've never let it get away from themselves. So today we're going to focus, guys, on the business side, and we're going to find out how Alexander has gone through his journey and how he's become so successful. And we also have a very special guest, Pinky, who will be joining us a little bit later on for some gorgeous pink magic, right? So let's talk business, State of the Union. You've been a salon owner, you've seen the industry change. Where do you feel we are right now? And for all the salon owners and the independents out there, what would be your best advice you could give to them?
Oh, well, I mean, that is an amazing question, Vivienne, because, I mean, as being a salon owner, I tested out a lot of different things within my one mini business, you know. I employed people, I tried various different pay schemes, I also did rent-a-chairs, I did all sorts of different things within my business to road test how that would work. Some things with varying success, some with others. And I think a lot of it was down to the culture of my business. I think, you know, I liked the idea of having a rent-a-chair business, but I didn't necessarily want to attach my name to that one. I wanted to have a rent-a-chair business and a salon, but you can't do it all because I'd already set up. So the State of the Union at the moment is a really interesting one because my salon ended up all of my employees being employed by me. And there isn't one that's the better business model. You know, there's business models out there that just work for different people. I think it's very interesting how there are a lot of salon suites now. You know, the salon suites, which are very kind of attractive for people to kind of lock it up and off you go. But, you know, with having the salon suites, you know, you are doing a lot of things for yourself. You're marketing yourself. I've got utmost respect for anybody that's doing that on their own. Great. Small is beautiful. And then, you know, a lot of people out there still with the big salons. And I think it's a very interesting time for hair and for the world of hair from a business sense, because the world has become so small, you know, with Instagrams and all this kind of stuff. So I think it's just ever evolving and evolving at a pace that I've never seen before.
Yes. So when you look back to your business, what was the best business decision you ever made?
Okay, so I think I think the best business decision I made from, which is not necessarily okay. So I tried to buy quite a bit of property within like, like, oh, I'll get that to rent and I'll get that to rent, and try to build up a little portfolio by being a hairdresser, by then buying bits of property in it. The best decision I never made, and I should have made, would have been to have maybe tried to own my salon and to have had the capital at the end. I do kick myself about that, but that's a bit of a business decision that I learned from. But certainly, I think the best decision I ever made was setting up my hair loss clinic. Setting up my hair loss clinic within my salon at the time. I'd always worked with Rene Paris wigs and worked with wigs, but I did it from being a session stylist, so, using wigs for TV and magazines, etc., etc. And then when I opened my doors up for the hair loss clients and the hair loss community and the wig wearers for the fashion community, that ultimately opened a lot of other doors, because the doors had been open for me in the competition world and the fashion world because of what I'd done, but this opened doors within a different sector, a sector of caring for people. And as much as I love competitions, and there's nothing like having your name called out there, for me, my calling has kind of been, with the wigs, the fun element of the wigs, and also the medical element of the wigs. So I think for me, 15 years ago when I set up the wig clinic, I think that was the best decision I ever made, because without that, I wouldn't be here today.
And where is here today? You tell everyone where you're based.
Right. Well, these lovely ladies behind me are my friends, and I'm sat in Los Angeles right now in my office in LA, the Adorans LA office.
We have someone very special I'd like to bring in to the feed, and it's gorgeous Pinky. Hi, Pinky. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being with us. So I think it's great that Pinky's here today, because Pinky's background is a very fascinating background for any of you who are young stylists, students, maybe even salon owners who've got a little bit of an itch. And you're thinking, what's life like outside of the salon, going into the fashion industry, into the world of print, and looking at that whole world. And that's a world where Pinky lives. So let's just do a little bit of a background check into Pinky so that we can kind of get to know her expertise. And then I'm going to ask Pinky and Alexander some good questions around that. So Pinky, tell us a little bit about how you got into the industry and how, more importantly, you got to where you are right now.
Okay, well, I'm Pinky Dillon. I'm from Hollywood, California. I've been here my whole life, so it has been a little bit of a struggle to try to get to where I am. I started when I was really little. My grandmothers were super into hair shows. Their hairstylists were platform artists at the time. So when I was little, I started just coming to hair shows. That's when I knew I had a major passion for this industry and this business. And so when I was 16, I went to beauty school. By the time I was 18, I was already bugging people to become a platform artist. About 4 years into my career, I became a platform artist for a very big extension brand, meeting a lot of amazing people like Alexander and things along the way. It has been definitely something that has to be business and creative, I feel. I've owned my own salon. I am independent now, but without my salon at that time, I probably wouldn't be where I am. It really took a lot of team and a lot of effort and a lot of mentorship to really get into these studios and these big movie sets that I get to work on now. So we did a lot of process with education, understanding the background of the business, and really getting those skills up to par to be able to come to that level. And now I am a hair director at a film and production studio in downtown LA, where we get to teach students how to recreate and do things for film and production only. And we also help do different job placements with either corporations, platform artistry, as well as magazines, editorial, or on set. So it's been a great, great ride. And having great friends like Alexander has been really amazing to me. Using the Renee of Paris brand and Alexander's collection has definitely helped me, because when we're doing these sets and these fashion shows, we have maybe 5-10 minutes to get some hair done. So we usually like to pull a lot of his collection beforehand. And you can see on his Instagram, my Instagram, and on the Renee of Paris Instagram, a lot of the different looks that you actually can create with these amazing wigs. So it's been definitely a blessing.
Well, it sounds like an amazing career. I'd love to just follow you for a day. I think it would be so fascinating. So thank you so much for sharing. So for both of you, clearly working in the world of editorial, working in print, you have to fake it to make it. And so many times when it is a wig or there are any hair extensions, it's done so well, you would never, ever know it was done. And then you may see the celebrity or the model the next day or the day, we'll think, how could that have happened? She had this length and now she's got this length. And when it's so well done, it's the best kept secret. And I think it's an incredible art to making a wig look as though the hair is growing out of the head. Alexander, what do you say would be your top 3 tips for making a wig look so real and believable?
Okay, so top wig tip number 1 for making things believable. I think first of all, and let's for an example, say we're looking after an alopecia client, and say for instance that she's had hair at some point and then not had hair. It would be very valuable if you could look at a photograph of when that lady had hair, or if she went into treatment, before she went into treatment, what her hair was like. Now, in some cases, the alopecia ladies may have had alopecia all their lives. So, they're maybe not a recent photograph. So if that's the indication, consultation. And I think so many things can be avoided just by taking the time to say, what do you want? Because ultimately, I can do hair and I love doing hair. But, when people come and sit in my chair, they're there because they don't necessarily want to see me do this great big number. They want something that works for them, especially in the world of wigs. So firstly, know what your client wants. Know what your client wants. Take the time to give them the care and take the time to listen. And also, I think, teamwork. So if you've got somebody coming in and they're new to wigs and they want to know what works really well for them, tell them to bring a friend over. Tell them to bring their best friend. And, I had a private room, a VIP room at my salon. So I used to even say to the girls, look, if you're feeling that way, bring a bottle of wine and we'll do it later on and make a bit of fun about it. So I think making the experience warm, taking the time to listen and really, really just extra care of that client and how they're feeling. And I think all those things together, then when you're working together as a team, you can get something really beautiful.
Yeah, and I suppose too, when the eye takes a while to adjust to something new. So if you pop a wig on and they've got suddenly a new look, it takes a while to just live with it for a while. When you're the consumer, I'm not talking about models. Models have to fake it, even if they don't like it. They have to pretend that they like it, right? But when it's the consumer, they need that time to look at themselves and process before you show them something else. And sometimes I think we can overwhelm with too many choices. And when someone's given too many choices, they make no choices. They get overwhelmed. So when you're working with somebody and, they can be a blonde and then a redhead all within a few seconds, what is your protocol for going, okay, I want you to sit with this for a while and just look with it, let your eyes get comfortable with it, take some photographs of it, and so on and so forth. How do you let someone marinate versus microwave through the experience?
Okay, so I mean, for me, definitely, if that's the situation, and as well, I mean, I've been hairdressing a little bit of time now, so I like to think that my people skills are relatively good, not just from a hairdressing point of view, but being able to read people and to see where they're at. And, it's not dissimilar to a regular client. We know our indecisive colour clients. We know we know the client that comes in that wants a full restyle, but she doesn't want a fringe, she doesn't want layers, and she doesn't want 1 inch off the length, but she's like a restyle. So, you know, by nature, people have different levels of decisiveness. And so if you know you have a client like that, to help them with the process, make sure they bring some friends along, you know, because at the end of the day, as much as I know what I'm talking about from a hair point of view, these guys might have known each other for 30, 40 years. And, oh, do you remember when you wore that at that wedding? Oh, that'd be nice to wear again. And, you know, they know the familiarity there. And, I mean, our best tool right now is our phones, you know. I mean, like, if a lady puts a wig on for me, I'll say, right, let's take a picture of the front, let's take one of the back, let's take one of the sides, and then hand that phone back over, and then they're scrolling, and then they zoom in, and, oh, look what my neck looks like in there, and they can see their profile. And, I mean, it seems so obvious because we're all on our phones all the time, but sometimes we don't, that thing that's in our hand, we think, oh, well, we're like that with the mirror. And I mean, I abandoned the mirror a long time ago when I got a decent smartphone and, you know, and got a bit more interactive. So I find that, and then if they go away, they can always make an appointment another time to look at it, and then they can have a few days to marinate on their own.
Yeah, great point, great point. So Pinky, for you living in the world of you make your money out of the fashion industry and all of the elements you're working on where the person really doesn't have an opinion. Of course, celebrities do, but models, they're paid to show up and make the product look good. For you, when you are fitting a wig and you're trying to make it look invisible, and you've got all those bright lights and they're shooting in 4K plus.
Yes.
Do you have a couple of little tricks that you could share with people about what the way that you make a wig look as realistic as possible?
Well, one, definitely using Alexander's collection, because his wigs are not just because he's my friend, but because they're absolutely amazing. I mean, we work with these high-end cameras, like you were saying, HD resolution. If I have any other type of wig, the problem is you can see through it through those cameras. The way that the netting and everything is placed with these wigs has been so amazing. It's very simple, actually. It's simplified my life, if anything, because before I would used to have to really sleek them down, put a lot of gel. Sometimes I would have to put glue or certain things that could damage the hairline. And now being able to use Alexander's collection, I can almost just, if I can fit them down, rule number 2 is if they have a lot of hair, you have to braid it down properly, or you have to actually like flat wrap it down, okay? If that hair is not put underneath the wig properly, that's what's gonna make it look unbalanced or unproportionate. Yeah, as in with these, they're pretty easy to fit. I mean, even with my hair, I mean, I don't have as much hair as I usually do because I don't have my extensions in, but even with my hair, I can literally just kind of sleek it down, put it in even a low bun, put one of these wigs on, and I can make it look real, you know, because of the way it already has some front lace to it. It meshes to the skin very nicely, has very good color match. And the third, I would say education. Education is the key about wigs because, like Alexander was saying, there's so many to choose from when it comes to style, length, color. Where am I going to go with this? So definitely getting trained by Alexander or some specialist as his expert is something I would suggest, because when I came into the world of wigs, I would just kind of place them on and think it looked good. And I can tell from about 7 years ago when I started doing wigs till now, the difference, because you could see their natural hair coming out and things like that. So it just depends, I think, too, on what you're actually doing. But having the great brand, I definitely say is what really has helped me along the way.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Now, I know, Pinky, you have a question that you'd like to ask Alexander.
Yes, I do. So Alexander, what keeps you so inspired and so creative to keep doing amazing things and competitions like the NAHA Award, which I know you were nominated for?
Well, okay. Well, I mean, I could be saying that one right back at you both, because you're both extremely creative and extremely artistic with the stuff that you do. But I mean, but when I talk to a lot of hairdressers, the process of us hairdressers getting there can be quite different. And I mean, I think what keeps me creative is the fact that I've never not had a day when I've not wanted to be within this industry. I love this industry. I don't do clients every day anymore, you know, and not that I do better things. I just do different things. I do miss a lot of my clients, but I genuinely love the world of hair, the world of fashion. So it isn't work for me. I'm kind of always thinking about it in the back of my mind, and it doesn't feel like work. So, I mean, I draw my inspiration from nature, from food, from fashion, from architecture, you know, all sorts of things. I could see these pictures on there. I mean, if you look at that red picture, okay, with that wig, that's a human hair wig that I made some years ago. These are both wigs, and I made both of these wigs. But then that red one, I was actually on holiday in Spain with my dad, and we'd just been for some lunch, and there was this shop, and it was one of those shops that, you know, sells everything from, you know, from basketballs to wedding dresses to all sorts of stuff. And in the window there was this mannequin, and it had this really cheap wig, but it had it pulled down over the eyes, and I saw it in the distance. I was like, Dad, I've got to go see that. And my dad, being a Yorkshire man, not in the hair industry, didn't really understand what the hell I was on about taking pictures of this mannequin. But, you know, I kind of designed that picture off that mannequin. So to answer your question, I'm always inspired, and it can be the smallest, littlest thing, a tree or a leaf or anything. And if I see something in it, I can generally start thinking about it and create something.
I love that. I love that. So when you look at where you are right now, trying to balance commerce, making money, and artistry, I think even though, you know, both of you are at the top of your game, it still is one of those slippery slopes, isn't it? You can get some of the most amazing jobs that pay very little, and then the boring job that pays so much.
Yes.
So not fair that you never want to put your name to, but they paid really well. And it's that slippery slope of the finance and the creative, and knowing how to dance in there. Pinky, how do you navigate through that, especially because you live in a very freelance world? You know, it can be famine and feast, can't it?
Yes, definitely. That's why I kind of decided to become independent, actually. Being in Los Angeles, it's fast paced. If you want to be on set, you have to be available. I decided to let my salon go when I started working on more sets because I wasn't there enough to be there for my team. So that's kind of helped me, actually, being able to have a free schedule. Just like yesterday, they called me, hey, can you come do a big commercial tomorrow? Okay, I have a full book, but I'll move them around. You know, being able to do that now in my career, I think is okay. But when I first started out, I really had to have that stepping stone, you know, to kind of get to where I was going. So I feel like now, with all of this stuff kind of going on, the pandemic, the this, the that, you kind of have to dabble in about, I say, 20 different hats. You have to know how to do your own editing. You have to know how to do your own lighting, cut the hair, style it, do it, train it, you name it. But you know what? I love every moment of it. I get to actually teach at that academy every day, and I get to give that gift back to other future students. And so that's what really kind of keeps me going.
Wonderful, beautiful, beautiful. Alexander, now you've created this beautiful collection, and you've taken your expertise from the salon world through print world, the awards that you've won, and now you're bringing the reality of your collection to hairdressers. What does it mean to you now to be based in Los Angeles, away from the UK, doing what you're doing? And having asked that question, my second question to you would be, what's the future for you?
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, this decision that I made to move out here was probably from a life point of view a huge decision, because I lived in the north of England. I traveled the world, luckily, doing what I did from a hair perspective, but I always came back. So it was a big decision. But I was headhunted by Renee Paris, and I'd done some work with the guys. We had a meeting in London. Steve, my boss, was like, he then wasn't my boss. They were flying me out to the States to meet people and stuff. And then I was offered the position. So, we had a thought of it. So what does it mean to me? Obviously a great deal. I mean, the sacrifices I've made. I've not seen my kids for nearly 3 years because of the whole COVID thing. We've been like back and forward. I've had another baby in that time. We've had a bit of family tragedy. So it's been extremely challenging. But I think the amount of challenges we've had only makes the payoff greater. My family will finally move here this year. They're coming here next week for a vacation. The kids are choosing school, so that's great. So this decision has been huge, but what a great decision to make. I love Renee Paris as a brand. Even when I didn't work for them, I always worked with Renee Paris. So it's been a huge decision. So to be sat here in LA doing what I love, which is the world of wigs, of my career evolving from salon to this, which is kind of what I always wanted to do. I feel very fortunate. I feel very blessed. I have a great team around me. I've got some wonderful people around me that have really taken me on board in the team and looked after me. And, the likes of Pinky on a personal level. I came to this town, didn't know anybody, didn't even know where to get my hair cut. Pinky's my hairdresser, and also introduced me to so many people and made my transition from a UK stylist to a US stylist a pleasant experience.
What would be your final advice for somebody that is, maybe they're itchy to think, like I want to do something else in my career. Maybe they're a little bored in the salon. Maybe they're a little bored in their world, and you're thinking, like, what's my next thing? Because you've dabbled in so many areas of our industry, and that takes courage to shift from the salon and go off and be in a studio or be on a TV set, et cetera, et cetera. That takes courage to do that. So what advice would you have for anyone with itchy feet that wants to be following maybe a path like you have?
I would say always regret what you have done, not what you haven't done. Okay, so that's tried to be a personal business motto of mine for a period of time. And you know what? As much as I love it in the States. I love the team. I love my boss. I love everyone at Renee Paris. There might come a time when I decide that something else is around the corner, and then I would say, well, I really enjoyed that period of my time. But if I didn't ever do it, I wouldn't ever know if I was going to enjoy it. So you don't want to get to a point in your life and look back and say, oh, if only I'd have tried that, or if only I'd have done that. Have the courage and just go do it. And if it's a photo shoot and you don't necessarily want to invest a ton of money to begin with, you don't need to. Find a model that's trying to build her portfolio, or find a makeup artist, again, trying to build a portfolio, photographic students. Some of the best shoots that I've done have cost nothing. Some of the most expensive shoots I've done haven't necessarily even got nominated for an award. So, just think out the box, surround yourselves by other creatives. There was a great business book I read once. It said, hang around with 5 millionaires, you'll be the sixth, So hang around with 5 top stylists, you're going to learn a lot, So certainly if you've got itchy feet and you want to, say, for instance, work in photographic, do a bit of research, see who works in photographic, ask if you can assist. I worked a hell of a lot, and we touched on it with Pinky. I worked so much for free in the early days just so I could gain knowledge and expertise. Yeah. So that's what I'd say.
Well, I love that. If you want to be the 6th millionaire, hang out with 5 other millionaires. I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge, your wisdom, your passion. Guys, I hope you've really enjoyed today. Take something from today and ask yourself, what can I apply? I hope you write down some notes, and you know what they say, apply it immediately, because the longer you delay, the more you will forget. And think about some of these really important key points that we've discussed today, and think about how you could expand your creativity, exploring the world of wigs, hair pieces, hair extensions. The sky's the limit, and don't let your lack of understanding or knowledge get in the way, because we're all students at heart, all learning and growing. Thank you so much, Alexander, for being with me today.
Vivienne, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much, guys. Take care and bye for now.